Here we go. All right, everyone, here we are live. Welcome to YouTube. If you are able to log in, thank you once again for you guys. Please excuse the delay. Technical issues, not in my studio, but here we are. Okay, and the link, Dirk, if you need the YouTube links right here, I'm gonna put it there for you. All right, loves. Okay, so okay, the biggest message for today in Self-Love Sundays, one thing that we're going to work on is essentially how to release deep-rooted illness in the body. And the kind of illness that I'm talking about is not only physical, it's emotional, okay? It's spiritual. When the spirit completely disconnects from the body, when we go into dormant states of hypnosis for a long amount of time, we are not familiar with how to utilize this vessel. And that disconnect causes a severe imbalance in the body. And so that imbalance in the physical body essentially takes the entire movement of this morphogenetic field, the entire movement of the life force out of balance completely. So how do we relink the soul into the body? Number one, we need to make space in the physical body for a different frequency, okay? So as you know, your body is a self-organized system of frequency from lowest density to highest density. Now, the way that information packs is, if you can imagine an access point, plus minus, points on this grid. The 0 point is in the middle, but at any point in this grid that you begin to move out into the negative access of this system of energy, essentially, the further away it is from the body, the deeper in the subconscious mind it is. We talked about that the other day. But the other thing that occurs is that the crystallization process, as it goes deeper into the layers of the subconscious mind, begins to penetrate into many layers of the field. So in order to heal that, we need to access the root. And then the maintenance of that root is to make sure that every layer is cleared as well. This is energetic. Psychological, what does that mean? That the shift in that transformation, in that process of program thinking, essentially has to completely be alchemized from the inside out. Okay? And it has to be, in a sense, your perspective of that suffering has to be expanded. And we have to be able to alchemize the emotion and the trigger point of that emotion in the physical body. If we continue to feel the trigger point of that emotion in the body, the illness, or even if it's just a headache, even if it's depression, sadness, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, feeling lonely, all of these are different levels, different vibrational frequencies, different manifestations of illness, of imbalance. Anytime the system goes out of balance. So how we relink those things is by understanding what's the very subconscious belief. And as we mentioned before, all emotions have two main roots, fear and love. How do we transmute fear into love? This has to be the cultivation of the 0 point. We have to come into a state of non-attachment, not only to the external world, but the triggers that are occurring biophysically, emotionally, the nervous system, biochemically, through those triggers. And essentially, the other side of that is to reach the 0 point, the neutrality and the non-attachment to the ego or the identity. Where if you can embody this state of non-identity, non-ego state, not identifying with the ego, because we always have an ego. The ego is part of this system. It is the I that experiences everything that we experience. It essentially holds on very tightly to these survival mechanisms. Every imbalance becomes comfortable. It becomes known. It becomes a system of protection for the ego. And that's something that is difficult for many to understand. You can go to many healers, many shamans, many people to assist you in healing. But if you don't access that root cause and assist in that work, it will be very difficult. Now, if we have reached the point where we have let this physical ailment go on for a really long time without being addressed, because we belong in a physical body, because we are in this physical world, non-attachment doesn't mean that you are not part of this ecosystem of biology. Okay, it means that the entire organism comes into its optimum state of function through the process of self-love. That's the formula. If you want to activate high vibrational frequency, if you want to activate wellness, vitality, balance, no illness in the body, the antidote to that is unconditional self-love. Why? Because unconditional self-love is not just an emotion. It is not just a concept. It is the embodiment, biophysical, bioelectrical, and it is the activation of this complex multidimensional organism. That's what self-love actually is. The activation of a multidimensional organism in the state of conscious awareness. And that function of the human that comes into conscious awareness is completely different than that of someone that is disconnected from themselves. The choices that they make in their every moment emotionally will be very important. Their emotions, they will be mindful of the emotions that they feel, and they will be aware of the consequences of those emotions. So unconditionally loving yourself means being so connected to yourself, nature, and the whole that you understand the natural balance that needs to be maintained in and outside of you and in your interactions. It is inherent within us. All children that are born into this world are deeply connected to that natural movement. They operate in an awe-like exploration without the use of fear until they learn otherwise, okay? Now, as adults, we want to continue to live in that same way, but understanding now, maturely, having felt a plethora of emotions throughout your entire life, now understanding the mastery of each of those emotions in your interactions and in the discernment of your everyday experiences. That delicate process of discernment, awareness, and essential choice is through the filter of this unconditional self-love, is what guides this organism into its optimum operating state. Because every choice that is made in alignment with nature and the whole is what expands the body into its most expansive state. Because you are a DNA strand, you are a vortex, and you are moving through this DNA strand with new octaves of vibrational frequency every single day. The invitation to you and the purpose of that, the design, the intelligent design of this human life, is to continue the process of evolution in order to be experiencing broader aspects more and more. That's the invitation. You can choose to co-create in that, or you can choose to counter-create in that. All of them are valid, and every human that makes the choice, conscious or unconscious, plays a role in maintaining the balance of the collective. That's another really important thing that we need to notice, because we go into these cycles of despair when something goes wrong, when we think we're losing something. We go into these cycles of despair and further the separation between ourselves and our co-creation abilities. And that severing of those abilities is a temporary illusion for the human in the physical realm. So what we want to do is gently wake up that human from that dormant hypnosis, that what takes precedence over this present moment is the entanglement with this illusion of temporary. And the processes that occur as a side effect of those experiences are primarily through the emotional body. This is why the mastery of the emotional body is essential in order to embody this high state of function. And the key to make that happen is unconditional self-love. Why? Because when you embody unconditional self-love, you understand the cause and effect of every emotion that you feel, okay? So you understand, number one, that emotions are tools. They are meant to be experienced, gaining information to allow yourself the free will. The choice of free will only belongs to the human that is in a state of awareness. It allows you the free will to begin to choose how you're going to apply yourself in this experience that you have an opportunity of having. And it can go in infinite number of ways, but it's your choice and it's your free will to choose. Now, in the governance of this matrix, our free will is limited by our perceptions. So the depths that we love, the depths that we know fear, and the depths that we know love will be the filters that are utilized in order to either expand those experiences or limit. So remember that free will, the more you optimize your system in coherence with nature and with the whole, the more you're able to experience higher octaves of free will as well. Even free will has different levels in a way, okay? Because most of us are operating in a sense where we go into deep depressions, helplessness, pain, suffering. And of course, when you're sick and when you feel pain in the body, you definitely don't feel that you have free will. We are at the mercy of our suffering, and we're at the mercy of the disconnect, which does not help us find clarity and discern and intuition in navigating the illness. When you are connected with your body, you have an intuition that allows you to heal your body, and you can heal your body instantaneously. When you want to, if you're ready to accept all of the things that you've accumulated in your body that have caused harm and taken you into that imbalance. But when that imbalance goes so deep out of balance, the physical body gets really affected. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we're not going to seek medical help in some way. We do need to seek this medical support if we need it. Okay, so I'm not saying that we're just going to be completely away from this medical support. However, you have the intuition to understand what is happening to you in your body and how you got there. And one of the most important things of most of the work that I'm doing here is to rid of suffering. We want to lessen suffering as much as possible, okay? Self-love and the abandonment of the self, when we abandon ourselves time and time and time again, even when we need to go to a doctor or get something checked out, and then we delay doing it because we're afraid or we're fearful, you know, that disconnect is an example of self-love. And we need to, lack of self-love. And we need to ask ourselves in that moment, what is the most loving thing for me to do for myself? Number one, regulate those emotions. Number two, really understand how you got there. And number three, what's the best way to help my body in this moment? And if fear enters into that program, then you're not operating from the highest truth, and you're not operating in alignment with nature and with the higher balance. So if the intuition says I need to go to the doctor, not just intuition, if your body, you know, said, you know, you broke your arm, if it's, you know, you need to go to get that checked out, and you're fearful of the system, you're fearful of the way that they do business in this world. You see, the way that we manifest is based on our subconscious minds and our programs, okay? So if we are filled with fear-based programs, we will manifest events that will match that for us. It really doesn't matter what you do or how, because that's your root program. So we need to address those. And this is what meditation on a daily basis, like you take a shower, brush your teeth, wash your hair, you know, take care of yourself. This is hygiene, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual hygiene is the reconnection of yourself with your body. That's why Self-Love Sunday is assisting you in cultivating this connection to yourself. Come back, connect, what's going on here? What's going on in the three centers of energy? It's not all just energy. We have psycho-emotional, psychological, physical, and multidimensional aspects that we need to address. And this is the new human. The higher function human is understanding and connecting to those three sections of their life, because that's the balance, the law of three. We are here in the three-dimensional plane, and the law of three, when integration creates the third, you are the third. You are creating yourself. You are birthing yourself every moment, every day, every moment of awareness, and every moment of dormant state of unconsciousness is a moment where you are either sleeping or dying. Okay, so we need to be really aware of that, because those choices are the ones that build and form the next possible experiences. If everyone in the world would participate in this self-awareness understanding, can you imagine the level in the cultivation of societies that we would be able to cultivate together? Okay, it is the new human. The new human is consciously aware, and it calls itself out on its own BS, in other words. And essentially, the lies that we tell ourselves, this is very important. We betray ourselves deeply. And we tell ourselves we're not acting on fear, but in fact, we make choices on fear. And those fears are very subconscious. And I see that a lot. It's happening a lot in the separation of society spiritually, politically. It's like you're your group, I'm my group. All of these separation is always a product of fear. So don't be confused. There's no such thing as separation. We are such a deeply interconnected organism that if you would just look at yourself and what you actually look like multidimensionally, you would laugh at yourself for thinking that you're separate from something. You would understand pretty quickly that even if you think that your thoughts and your ideas are better than someone else, higher, more conscious, you think you're the new human, there's no separation. So the way that we want to begin to work with this is dissolve that seed of separation that we have within us is the most loving thing to do, because any part of us that expresses the seed of this separation is always going to result in suffering. Fear-based choices always end in suffering, always, for sure. That you can be sure of. This is one of the laws of this universe. Okay, so it doesn't mean that fear and that suffering isn't useful for you, because that's what you're here to experience, that contrast and experience. And many of us, we learn the best by hitting rock bottom. I'm one of those people. I have only been able to learn anything by completely reaching that end core, and then like this concept of the phoenix, you rise from those ashes into this highest state, the alchemization of yourself into this highest form of function. So the human body essentially has to cultivate self-love, and the self-love is the activation of your body and the reconnection of this mind-body-soul system. It is the awareness of that function, the communication, and the proactive awareness, okay? So I want you to ask yourself this week, every time that you come into a state of stress, anxiety, disconnect, what would someone that loved themselves do in that moment? It's a very powerful question, such a simple question, but it's actually really powerful, because it completely changes your perspective on what you're doing. And you're like, oh, well, what is loving and what's not loving for me? Okay. And so even when you're asking that question in our meditation, we're going to train ourselves to come into 0 point, because in that 0 point, even that question won't be answered from a place of fear. This is how deeply rooted our fear is within us. It becomes a filter completely that changes our perception. Okay, so we're going to work on that today in the meditation. And I just want to open the chat here for everyone for questions. How's everybody doing? How's your meditation? What are some of the blockages that you're experiencing? How can I best be of service to you? So let's go ahead and put your questions in the chat. If you're in the Zoom, please go ahead and join me and just unmute yourself and let's talk about it. So I'm going to start here. Hello, Mama Ren, Angie, John, Ice Lily, so wonderful to see you. Dorina, Silvan, Marija, so great to see you. Cedric, Kira. We have a question from Doug. Welcome here. I have a total knee replacement, titanium and plastic. I'm trying to bring unconditional love there to recalibrate the prosthetic to release the pain. Am I on the right track? Yes, yes. But here's the thing, that the knee, the parts of our body that are containing pain are creating subconscious programs. So in order to let the pain release, we have to understand, what did we adopt to continue to think this program? The knee represents flexibility. It represents your ability to move through the flow of life without resistance, without judgment and resistance, especially resistance, or in other words, your need to control either yourself or the things outside of you. So remember that in the daily habits throughout your day, how many times does your energy get invested in trying to control either yourself or something outside of you? Now, what do I mean by the self? Is it awareness of yourself? No, awareness doesn't control. Awareness is aware of what's happening, and then has the choice to begin to shift that. Control means you feel an incredible amount of anger, and you don't want to deal with that anger right now, so you don't want to acknowledge it, but you suppress it. So that's a form of control. You think you're controlling your emotion, you think you're controlling your output, but in fact you cause yourself suffering because you suppress the emotion. You don't even process that emotion properly. Okay. Or other people react to you in some way, and you sever your interaction with the person in order to control possible outcomes. Okay, so we have to take a look at the intention behind what we're doing. And if the intention behind it is fear, once again, you're going to continue creating more suffering, resistance, without addressing the root. The root is, why are you in this contraction in the first place? Why is there a need for control? Why is there fear? Why is there resistance? So this is the question that I would kind of look at in order to heal this part of the body. And the thing is that I understand, pain can be completely debilitating. I mean, when we've already entered pain is the body screaming for help. Okay, the body is asking for attention, support, because we've completely ignored that part of ourselves. We just abandon it. This is part of the abandonment of the self. So in order to no longer abandon what's been there, kind of like, I almost want to say it's like a compost, it just sits there and it's not creating anymore. It's counter creating. Okay. So how do we bring this part of us back to life? We have to flush out everything that is putrid, everything that has evolved into death, into stagnation, into the subconscious mind, and nourish it with life. And life is that giving. So what is the most unconditionally loving thing for you to do the next moments that we come into states of resistance, control, fear, anxiety? This can be a really proactive way of healing. Now, energetically, remember, you can also remove pain energetically. So that's training the intuition. Those of you that are training your intuition, okay? Closing your first three chakras, open the top three in order to activate your higher vision, higher faculties, and begin to look at your field. You'll notice the parts of your body that are out of balance or in pain by the areas that you see heavy stagnation of energy. Sometimes with your hands, if you can't see, you can use your hands, feel your body, the parts of the body that have the most heat as you walk through, as you move your hands through your body, are the ones that are holding densest amounts of life force, contraction, okay? We should all be maintaining fluid energy through the body. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a vortex of violet light underneath you, very powerful. The vortex of violet light, any vortex that we create around us is always going to go to source, and you are source. You are the source. Remember that. What is that vortex of violet light? It's a higher vibrational frequency moving quickly. Anything that is spinning, moving fast has a higher vibrational frequency. And your body functions this way. Remember, this spinning, the toroidal form, is the natural shape, or it's the pathway of life force that nature has selected in this matrix, three-dimensional realm, in order to embed massive amounts of information. You are a massive amount of information. And what coils that information into your DNA, into your genetics, is that fractal-like spiral motion into that DNA. Okay, so we essentially have that in our physical body, and we are embedding. So in order to remove it, we need to use that same function in order to transmute that, to alchemize it from this low, slow movement. You see, you are inherently a high vibration spiral. If you stagnate low vibration density thought forms in your body, they're totally moving at a slow rate, creating stagnation. So of course you're going to have pain. There's a disconnect here in the body. When you reconnect that, you will flush out this stagnation from the body, okay? So this vortex of violet light that we use is reconnecting to source again. All of you reconnects to source. Everything you see, waking state, dream state, out-of-body experiences is yourself, is fractals of yourself. Remember, okay? So as you visualize this, and you can imagine, or you can see whatever you want to see in this place, you remove the pain out, and you will allow that vortex to begin to pull it out. You can imagine the vortex as if it has energy that comes into your body and pulls it out. Use your imagination. You see, the imagination is the most powerful tool of co-creation that we think so little of it. We think that's for children. We think that's not true. But we are multidimensional beings, and the imagination is the mechanism that allows us to communicate with higher dimensions, because that's the screen of how the information is processing into the body through the eyes system, through the pineal gland, through the ability to activate the chemicals in our body that allow us to leave the body into higher dimensional levels of access and navigation. So we really need to utilize this imagination. And it is true that if you are mostly dormant, if you watch a lot of TV, you're going to be embedded with TV programs, and those are deep subconscious subliminal programs that completely invert your way of understanding things, okay? And so is music that is operating with subliminal language, focused on sex, violence, all these things. I know most of you don't really connect with that kind of music, but we need to understand that when we are unconscious, we're highly sensitive. We are super sensitive, because that's the nature of your multidimensional body. It is a vortex that is living. It's a 360-degree living organism of processing data. And you're absorbing information 360 all around you, whether you're aware or not. So the thing is that in order to maintain this health in the body, right, we need to remember that that high vibration state is something we have to work at proactively, okay? So this is really important for that work. Okay, thank you for that question, Doug. Really, really hope this helps, okay? That's why I practice, because it affects the whole. That's right, Isley. Anybody in the Zoom have any questions? Anything that they want to say or ask? Just checking, please. Isla has a question. Please go ahead, honey. Unmute yourself and come in.
Thank you. It's easier to talk than type. My question was, I have a daughter with special needs, so it's obvious she's constantly in unconditional love. All she is pure love. But in our past, we have had horrible experiences concerning her medical. Am I responsible still for making the choices? Like, for example, she has this sore behind her ear, and she doesn't complain about it. She doesn't say it hurts, but it's me afraid of taking her in to get it viewed because of the past experiences. So I don't want to harm her, but at the same time, I don't know if that's my fear.
Amazing question. Thank you for asking this question.
Thank you.
Now, okay, let's get familiar with what self-love is. Okay, as we talked about, there's an entire, your psychology completely changes when you embody self-love, because your perspective is no longer rooted in fear. Fear becomes very selfish. Fear makes you very blind. It disconnects you from high truth. When you are connected to source, we activate in our bodies and in these vessels the access to all wisdom in this physical realm and in many others, infinitely. This is what every single sage, every human that has reached some level of alchemization and enlightenment has reported to us through histories. And we see it in our reality amongst each other. You have all reached at some point a level in your evolution where when you connect to source, you have infinite awareness, okay? And as you fine-tune your instrument, the more deprogrammed it becomes, the more clear the channel of information becomes.
Okay.
And what happens is that all-knowing allows your, it's a different set of ethics. It's a higher level of moral understanding of things. And I'm going to break that down for you here. What does that look like? The choices that we make are looking at what is good for this organism, not just happy face, eating good food, having fun in this material world. I'm talking about high functioning organism, fully in the present moment, aware of their body, eating responsibly, because you see, when we love ourselves, even the food we eat changes, because we're not lying to ourselves anymore. And the taste buds aren't the ones that are mastering, our eating habits, for example. All of these subtle desires that we have are usually desire is to nourish some part of the ego in some way. Okay, and please don't be absolute with that, because it's a learning and it's an evolution process. It doesn't mean cut yourself from your desires. No, this is a process, but I want to name out what it's going to look like when you love yourself. So you understand when you start letting some things go in your habits, why you're doing that. The desire, when it comes from a place of fear, it's always trying to be safe. It's always trying to, it selfishly wants to make sure that it's surviving unconsciously. It's a constant state of survival. And survival is only one tiny perspective of a whole truth. This is something that we become blind to when we're in a constant state of fear. So the opposite of that is looking at all potential truths and then having the wisdom to choose from all those potential truths what is the best for this organism and the whole. And when you're caring for someone, the contractual agreement that is created, especially special needs situations like this, where the person doesn't have the ability to apply physical free will for themselves, they are dependent on another, then we have a contractual agreement to hold space. And the lesson is actually for those involved in the contract. The evolutionary essence, we are caretaking for someone in these special cases in order to evolve ourselves as well. That's the agreement. When we learn to love ourselves, we learn how to heal others as well. And they also learn self-love from ourselves. So your choices, if you had that on your ear, for example, and it begins to hurt or itch or something like this, if you love yourself, you would never let yourself let that just go, just like that. You would always choose immediately, what does this system need? When fear doesn't exist, the answer is pretty quick. It's accurate, and it knows the higher wisdom for the whole. The physical body needs to regenerate. Something is off. How do we fix? What do we heal? What do we need for that? What changes do we need to make this organism work responsibly in alignment with the whole? So the answer will be pretty quick and easy for you. And so in this same way, we begin to make choices, and we use the external for us. That's the difference. When you embody unconditional love and you're doing things from that higher wisdom, you're no longer co-creating from a place of fear. So when you go to the doctor, you will meet the doctor that is in alignment with you also vibrationally. I've experienced this so many times. It will be someone that will be productive, co-creative for you, will give you the solutions that you need, that are best and most creative for you. And you will be tested. You're testing yourself, your intuition. So always be awake. We can't go to sleep. That's the thing. We like to go to sleep, and we're just let ourselves go and just be like, okay, now this person, I put all my hope on the doctor and he's just going to know what to do all the way. No, we have to be awake. So even when the high vibration doctor says, hey, which one do you want to take for this medicine? You will know working together with a high vibration what to choose for this person. Okay. So in other words, it's a symbiotic relationship with the universe now, with your physical world. You are co-creating, and the world co-creates with you. You're never asleep. You're always awake, and you're always aware of the cause and effect of your choices, and you take responsibility for those cause and effect. Because again, because we're in fear, other person in fear, all of us live in fear, we just cause more suffering. So for example, in this example, the little lesion or whatever we have can cause even more, to the point where it can cause infection or more imbalance in the physical body. So I think that was a really strong example for us to understand something that is really important. And this is huge for parents as well, because as a parent, your child completely depends on you. How do you know what is the most loving? It's difficult for us in our society. We have such little education and support in learning how to, care for our children in a way that's high vibration. So we have to learn how to bring ourselves up to that intuitive, symbiotic connection to be able to bring our families along with us into this high vibration state as well. Okay, so Isla, does that help a little bit?
It does. What I gather from that is the less fear I have and the less ego and external that I'm looking at, the faster she can heal, because she's relying on me.
Exactly, my love.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And thank you for all you're doing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions that they want to ask in our Zoom? I'm going to come over to the super chat. Wow, thank you so much for the super chats, guys. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Let me see if you guys have any questions. Angie says, amazing. Doug, thank you for that super chat, my love. Thank you very much. So generous of you. Angie, Lanting Farming, I have had same thing. Okay, put your questions in caps so I know exactly where to find you, my love. Relinking Farming says, what does it mean when the same name and person with that name keeps popping up in your life? It's been for 4 years now. I constantly get bombarded with one name and I see the person everywhere. That's interesting. I think we experience these kinds of synchronicities that give us information. Couple things that I would look at is the meaning of the name and your relationship with that name, okay? And when you do see it, what's happening right before that? Take a look at that. So remember, when you experience the Matrix in the film, the little black cat that shows up is showing you some kind of disturbance in the field. So when we experience these severe synchronicities, it is a wake-up call, okay? So take a look at the meaning of the name and take a look at right when it's occurring. What's the pattern that it keeps coming up? What's the message there? There's a message for you. And if anything, it's to wake up. It's to wake up. It's like, you know, the ladle, the spinning ladle in a dream state, it doesn't fall, right? But in a waking state, it falls. Okay, so this is like a wake-up call for us. And I want you to look at your phenomena that you're experiencing in your life more or less a gift than a burden, because it's so easy for us to fall asleep. We fall asleep right now. Are you awake? You were awake 5 minutes ago, and then you went back to sleep, you know, thinking about all the things. Wow, thank you so much, guys. Oh, I'm so excited for your amazing questions. And Eris, thank you so much for that super chat. Angie, thank you so much for that. Rebecca, Nidamanuri, wow, beautiful name. Thank you for that, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Mama Ren, thank you, my love. Rebecca says, I see the pattern, but I believe the person who is 25 came into my life to bring sweetness and allow me to learn unconditional love. Unaligned, I feel not to be afraid of my insecure. Okay, so hold on, let me understand this question properly here. Every person that comes into our life, Rebecca, please feel free to clarify this. I'm trying to see if I understand. This person comes into your life and you're saying that it's there to help you learn unconditional love. Does it mean that you are unaligned? Okay, so in fact, this entire life is the lesson of unconditional love. Okay, we talk about the arc of the human coming into the human physical experience in order to return back to source. This is a temporary fragmentation that we occur for the purpose of accessing and experiencing. And the arc and the self that you are going through this experience is one of many that are experiencing in many dimensions. But all are to gain information, to learn, just experience all of this. And the whole is learning through you, in a sense, okay? We all collectively learn through each other, and you learn from yourself, and all your fractals of yourself are also learning. So through this experience, essentially, of alchemization that we are talking about, we all return back to that white light, which in the white light is contained all of the rainbow spectrum, from black to white. Every single color along the way is included in that white light. That's what you are. Okay, so we have to remember that this entire unconditional love is the white light. Unconditional love is source. Source is unconditionally loving because it understands its own nature. It understands the laws of this universe, which, to be honest, we're perceiving it from our understanding. In other dimensions, other realms, it's an even more expansive understanding that we can't even grasp. And yet the functions could be the same, okay? The source is experiencing through these temporary experiences. And the white light is unconditional love. We are learning how to become that. It understands that the most unconditionally loving thing to do is to experience all without judgment. That's how we grow, right? You're not the same person you were 10 years ago. because you've experienced. And if it wasn't for those experiences, you wouldn't have evolved to where you are right now. The way that your vortex moves is completely different. And that's something that I really want you to understand. You guys are evolving so rapidly and beautifully as part of this natural evolution. So everything is a lesson for unconditional self-love, because unconditional love is the way to experience, the highest way to experience this, this realm, the less suffering way to experience this realm. Mafona, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you so much. David Brian Davies, thank you so much for that super chat. Daria says, I'm generating negative emotions from my thoughts. How to break this cycle of negative thoughts? Okay. When humans are sleeping, when we are asleep, the human goes into a cycle of counter-creation that psychologically they begin to explore, because we are here to experience, we begin to experience the exploration of the darker realms of ourselves, okay? And the darker realms of the mind are going to be the deepest subconscious. In those subconscious parts of ourselves is all potential counter-creations. Death of ourselves, we fantasize, we have these illusions of death of ourselves, we have the illusion of death of others, suffering, negative thoughts of any possible kind. Because we are infinite potential, we can also infinitely create negative experiences. This is the thing that we experience all. And because you're infinite potential, boy, can you experience and imagine these things. So the key to ending that is to wake up consciousness. And when you wake up consciousness, you come back into the present moment where our thoughts are not floating around looking at those past potential. Most of the reason why we have these fearful thoughts is because we fear the future. We fear suffering when we have that loss. We fear being alone. We fear all the horrible things. And I will tell you that we cultivate these entity-like parasites that feed off these emotions. We become addicted to it. We create the chemical charges in our body that we become addicted to. Just sitting there, imagining of someone's death, the sorrow and sadness that will happen to you when you have that, others will have. It's like there's a part of us that enjoys that. Okay, so that part that enjoys that, next time that happens, I know it sounds strange. Some of you might think, how can someone enjoy it? But I want you to sit with that. Next time you have those thoughts, I want you to sit with the emotions that rise up when you have it, and you'll find that part of you enjoyed that little terror vacation or that scary thought moment. Okay, what you'll discover under those layers of emotions, first it'll be the sadness, then it'll be the fear, the sorrow, or whatever, disconnect, separation, until you get to fear. And there's a part of you that is addicted to that. Okay, so the waking up of consciousness brings you immediately into the present moment. And in the present moment, those thoughts don't exist. In fact, they never exist. You're creating them into a field which accumulates and charges your frequency. Remember, thoughts are bioelectrical. They create a charge. And if we are creating negative charges in the body goes out of balance. If you create too many positive charges in the body, it also goes out of balance. You know, too much partying, too much enjoying, too much eating, too much drinking. Those are all, again, lots of fun emotions, but those are positive charges that create imbalance as well. So the thing is to come back to the present, and in that present moment, you're still in that stillness. It's 0 point. Okay, so in that present moment is the truth. That truth only exists in the now. Okay, so bring yourself back immediately. Don't judge yourself. Because the next part is that the human starts to judge themselves for the emotions. We feel shame, we feel guilt. Again, another reason to dive into these wonderfully negative emotions. Okay, and then all of the side effects that occur as a result of that. Okay, so thank you for that. Awesome question. I hope that answers that question. Sienna Singh, thank you for that super cute super chat. That's so sweet. All right, my loves, let's get into the meditation, and then I'm going to go back into the chat for more questions, okay? Linda Bureaus, hold on, we'll take one more question here. Thank you so much for the wisdom. How can we know what is high vibration versus not? Meditative music, place, when we're choosing real estate agents, landlords, and things like that. So Linda, to answer that question, I'll go back to what I mentioned before about accessing the higher wisdom. Okay, remember the layers of the body, and I'm sorry, I don't have my slides on this computer, but remember that we are spheres within spheres, okay? When we activate the spheres of the 8th to the 13th dimensional layer, especially the 8th to the 10th, you are deeply connected to the wisdom and the DNA of the earth. So not only does your wisdom transcend your current time and space, but you can connect to the wisdom of the history of this time and space in which you exist, co-create. And it's not finite, it's infinite potential that exists within that. Okay, so, and the reason why I want to say that, because some people think, oh, the history of a land, like now you know the history of a land. There's infinite potentials of history on that land, because we're multidimensional beings. Okay, so when you access the wisdom, you access all potential truths. And from there, you select the one that's in alignment with what you want to co-create, because you're a creator. That's the thing. Here's the next part of this conversation that we didn't have. When you embody unconditional love, you become a creator, which means you can manifest everything you wanted to experience. When you're in the present moment, you can choose what you want to experience. So that's another really important thing, that you're not at the mercy of only being in survival, or only that neutral state allows you to manifest your wildest dreams. And that's not just imaginary. That's absolute, the laws of this co-creation. And the wildest dreams that you have are in alignment with your highest collective, yourself and the whole. Okay, so what will happen is that you attract magnetically through this resonance, through the highest wisdom of the organism, yourself and the whole, because the organism is creating through you. So the moment you wake up consciousness and begin to spin in the highest vibrational frequency of co-creation, you begin to co-create for the wellness of the collective. So those of you that you get inspired to create some kind of healing art, boy, does that healing art heal people. It heals people because you're in alignment. If you choose to get a land and grow food, you're going to grow some amazing, amazing food that will be nourishing. This is where we tune into the magic, this concept of the magic, the phenomena of co-creation that transcends logic. It's in alignment with the nourishment of the soul, okay? And it's a different state of existing. So this is what how I would answer that question. All right, my loves, let's get into the meditation. Thank you so much for your great questions. Let's start by inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to ground down to the center of the earth. With every breath you take as you inhale and exhale, I want you to bring yourself fully into your body, bringing yourself fully into a state of stillness. As you inhale and exhale, you go deeper and deeper into the stillness. And as you allow yourself to come into this stillness, begin to observe the emotions that are in the body. Breathing. And as you inhale and exhale, we're going to release all those emotions from the muscle memory of the body. Okay, so just begin to release the tension in the body. I want you to begin to spin your vortex of your body as you bring up from the center of the earth a powerful healing energy. And it can be any color that you feel is most healing for you. Go ahead and visualize absorbing that healing energy up into the body, creating a vortex of energy. This is a nourishing day. We are coming in to spring, to the equinox. Many of you in the different parts of the world, this is the beginning of a new era of frequency and of truth. I want you to bring from source powerful wave of this gold cosmic energy coming down to the crown of your head, combining with this earth healing energy. This will be your medicine. Allow that energy to rotate through the vortex of your body, removing any stagnation, any heaviness, any pain. Let this pick up that as if it was like a crusty mud that you are now dissolving into dust. It goes into that vortex, opening the runways of life force in your body. Go ahead and send it down to the center of the earth. The earth functions like a recycling mechanism, transforming death into life. Allow that center of the earth to begin to move that heaviness out of the body. And I want you to feel your body lighter. Don't mistrust your power. You have the power to remove all of that out of your body because this is your body. And you will feel the body becoming lighter, calm, breathing. We're going to take 80% of that up the spine from the crown of the head, creating a fountain, coating the outside of your field, releasing interdimensional fears, existential fears, disconnect from your source, all of these thoughts, mind programs that don't allow us to access our source. Those thoughts that confuse us into separation programs. Let them go. Open up your channels of source in the higher bodies. And you're going to take this powerful healing energy and you're going to bring it into the body. I want you to bring it into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level. Okay. Transmuting any suffering into freedom. Unconditional love. Love is free. It is free. It is expansive. Allowing yourself to feel safe in freedom. We are fearful of freedom because it's the unknown. And most of us actually are the ones that keep ourselves in cages. No one thing, no one group, nothing has power over you. So we today are opening up the cages that we build for ourselves. Cages of suffering, helplessness, loneliness, all a cage. Okay? Go ahead and nourish this body with feeling safe in freedom. And I want you to take a look at the thoughts that come up when you think of freedom. Go ahead and notice the emotions that begin to arise. Go deep into the layers of the subconscious mind. How do you really feel about freedom? Does any part of you want to contract, hide? Okay. So as you allow yourself to begin to feel more expansive, little by little, I want you to take the most negative emotion that comes up when you think of freedom. See if an emotion that is negative is triggered when you think of freedom. Identify. Okay? And as you begin to connect with the emotion, this negative emotion that comes up, the most contractive thought form that comes up when you think of freedom, I want you to sit with that thought form in your body. And I just want you to notice what parts of your body start to tense up as you're fully present with it. Breathing down to the base of the spine. Okay. Breathing. Okay. Allow yourself to notice the part of the body that tenses up, and I want you to focus on that part of the body. Take all your focus to that part of the body, sit with it, and go ahead and allow and see what thought forms are underneath this thought form. What emotions are you storing inside that thought? Go ahead and take a look at that. Okay. So, for example, if you found a little bit of fear in that freedom, what's inside that fear? This is an example. You take your emotion and ask yourself, what's inside there? Okay. Is it separation? Is it doubt in yourself? Is it loneliness? Is it suffocation? What is happening to you? Notice the part of your body as you feel any levels of anxiety and discomfort with this emotion. Some of you might even feel nauseous because of the anxiety that comes up. Some of you might feel your tummy rumbling, your back aching. That's the amount of emotion you've suppressed within you throughout your life. So as you begin to address that, acknowledge it. Don't ignore it and don't get scared. Sit with it and focus on it. Get the information from the discomfort. All of those pains and discomforts have information for you. So right now you are like an explorer, that you are exploring yourself and your relationship with freedom. So as you have gone into this deeper negative emotion, where do you take yourself? What is the strongest emotion that becomes triggered? And as you identify that, hold that emotion in your body. Notice the memories that begin to become triggered. I want you to take yourself back to the very first time that you felt this emotion. Take yourself back. It could be last week, it could be yourself as a child, but I want you to find the very first time that you recognize this in your life. Okay. So as you see yourself in these experiences, or you might just feel the emotion, I want you to sit with that emotion in your body, and I want you to notice how your body's reacting as this emotion is fully processed. Observing the discomfort. I want you to name out the emotions that begin to come up. Okay, watch yourself now as you identify yourself experiencing these emotions. What is the program that was created by this emotion? How has it blocked you in your life? How has it limited you? How has it caused suffering? How has it helped you? Observe. As you begin to observe this, you'll notice your body coming back into a deeper balance. And I want you to ask these parts of you that have experienced all of the suffering as a result of this uncomfortable emotion that arises when we think of fear. I want you to look at all of the fractals of yourself throughout your life that have applied this program to the way that they behave, the way that they present themselves in the world, the choices that they make, and what they do with their bodies. Take a look at all of these fractals. What is it that they need from themselves in order to no longer continue to create suffering for themselves? What do they need from themselves towards themselves? Breathing. The answer is available through the body. Some of you might hear it, some of you might see it, some of you might know it. Respect how you receive information and trust it. Allow yourself now to, as you find the answer, to begin to absorb the answer. So some of you, you might, for example, let's say that if it was the example of fear, that you are needing to learn how to trust yourself. And there's a lot of resentment that comes from not trusting the self, and therefore you require forgiveness. Okay, so just look at that process. This is an example. It can be different from you. Apply that forgiveness into every of your fractals. And as they begin to acknowledge themselves with this new information, more expansive way of navigating uncomfortable feelings of freedom, this part of your body begins to feel more expansive. Go ahead and see all of your fractals surrounded in a golden field of light, and I want you to infuse them with this knowledge now. I want you to fill your body with this knowledge now. Okay, breathing deeply. Okay. And as you see your fractals becoming illuminated, standing up straight, healing their body, some of you might see distorted, deformed parts of you now coming back into their full form, or coming back into a balanced joy or more light. All of those transformations are telling you clues, what you need in your life. Pay attention to that, okay? Because it's your formula for healing. So I want you to see all of these fractals merging into one. You're going to inhale deeply, taking that fractal into your body. Okay. Now that you have understood what you require in order to no longer feel this emotion, to alchemize the emotion, allow yourself to eliminate the cords and connections, people, places, and things that trigger negative emotions within you over the past 24 hours. Go ahead and visualize severing cords. Inhale deeply, calling back your life force into your body. Breathe out powerfully, exhaling, releasing the power of your mind and your will. The power of your intention is essential for healing. So as you relax the muscles in your body, neutralizing now, bringing the body, begin to visualize your vortex spinning. You're going to open the root chakra back into a balanced state. Open the first layer of your body. Open the second layer of your body. Open the third layer of your body, making it whole. Open the fourth layer of your body, making it whole. The fifth layer. the 6th layer, the 7th layer. Activate your 8th. I want you to fill it up with this creative color. You are a powerful creator. Set your intention and use that intention around you. Activate your 9th, your 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. And above you is a powerful white light of source. I want you to connect up into that white light. Go ahead and connect with that unconditional self-love. As you bring that love into your body, anchor it into the center of the earth. As you allow yourself to anchor that self-love into the center of the earth, I want you to fill your body with love to nourish this body. Satiate all of those desires that want to externalize this fulfilling feeling. Redirect your attention to your body, to your soul, and to truth, to your truth. As you fearlessly allow yourself to see your truth. Okay, as you allow yourself to feel deep compassion for your body. Breathing deeply. I want you to bring yourself back into the room, and you're going to open your eyes. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such an honor to hold space with you here. You can use this powerful meditation and make it longer. You can utilize it and spend lots of time with it in order for you to find this answers that you need, okay? You guys are so amazing. I love you so much. I want to thank you for your generosity and your love. Your super chats really help me keep this completely accessible to everyone. It really helps. And I love you so much for your incredible questions. Those of you that are in my Zoom, anybody have any final comments or questions that they want to make? Please unmute yourself and come on in. If you have any comments to make.
I just want to say, like everyone, Geraldine, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my love. It's such an honor to do this. Who is talking? I couldn't see.
That's Jessica Ann.
Yes. Thank you, my love. David, hi.
Hi. I have a question if I can ask you.
Yeah.
Something you don't talk about a lot is loved ones who passed and who might be coming in to help us. And I just want to know where that fits into your teachings, which are resonating with me. But I'd like to know where loved ones who are coming to me to seemingly help me, where that belongs in your teachings.
Yeah, absolutely. So an element of not being alone and a perk of not being alone is that you're deeply interconnected to the universe. And one of the first ways that we begin to aid our ascension is by deactivating our DNA. And when we do that, you begin to have access to ancestral wisdom. Okay? So when ancestral wisdom becomes activated through your DNA, you are connecting and you activated essentially the 8th, 9th dimensional plane. In the 8th and 9th dimensional plane is where all of our ancestors exist. Those that have been trapped in multidimensions, such as ghosts or spirits, whatever, and those that are already transcended to higher dimensional planes have access to you. And when you activate that wisdom, you clean up through your experiences, ancestral trauma, suffering, pain. And so they will come as a form of support, wisdom, and information for you. Okay. So everything is your ancestors. It's you also. I want to remember that on the highest level, they are you. Okay. Because if we look at our past lives, we've changed places with them millions of times, playing different roles, different games, learning different ways of experiencing, all while we are collectively learning how to raise to a different octave. So the work that we do with them in this lifetime is essential, because you're going to recognize collective trauma that's probably surfacing already, and they can also help with the answers for that. So if you are a person that is connecting to that and having that information, listen to the guidance that is available to you there, always understanding your discernment tools, okay? But it plays a big role, and it's especially when we activate this ancestral DNA that occurs as a result of deprogramming. Does that kind of answer the question?
It does. Just one more aspect to that. If somebody wasn't awake during this earthly incarnation, and if they've passed to the other side and you know that they are in a happy place, so they're not stuck, are they automatically awake, or is that not a given?
They are in a happy place, but they're communicating with you. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you want?
Are they awake?
Are they
Are
awake?
they automatically spiritual? Are they? Is it a given that because they've passed to a happy place that they are now awake spiritually?
No, my love. And let me tell you why. Because everything is through our perception and filter. Okay. So our connection to them, and also keep in mind if you desired this connection or if it came organically, because there's different ways of that, and it has to do with resonance. Okay, so the way that we went into the communication is important. If we go into that communication from a place of desperation and need, it changes the way that we interact with them and the way that they provide support for us. Equally to when we're in a high vibration, we do that, okay? We're looking at it through our filter. So for us, we understand they're in a happy place, but remember that we exist simultaneously in everything. So that one fractal of a self that you have identified with is just one part of them that is playing a role for you to navigate your path in this dimension. You have an agreement with that soul. So it's kind of like a mask that's being played with the name of a relative, but actually it's a source, it's a higher self that connects all of you through your ancestral DNA. It is a wisdom life force. In reality, it doesn't really have the life and form shape, okay, when you look at it from the highest level. And but that individual can be doing all kinds of wonderful things in other dimensional planes. And if they tell you they're in a happy place, then they're exactly where they need to be. And you can access that information through meditation if you want to. You can figure out, you know. But yeah, it's only if you need it, if you need to know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's my take on that. Thank you for the question. A very, very special thank you to Doug for your super chat. Thank you so much. Frank says, just one question. Are we not entertained? Kate Torres says, I have DNA reprogramming booked for you in May to help me make sense of a near-death-like experience. Was this the best session to choose for this purpose? Do you remember your near-death experience? And do you recall? I would suggest a hypnotherapy for this kind of session. However, if you've already understood all your agreements and you're trying to understand how to apply that, in this life for your evolution, a DNA reprogramming can help you. A DNA reprogramming can help you make sense of why you ended up in that program to begin with, of the near-death experience. A hypnotherapy will help you understand that, but also, I guess, the bigger picture of the near-death experience. So take a look at those two and see which one is best for you, okay? Probably, I might suggest the hypnotherapy because I think you want to kind of go deeper into that. But let me know, Kate. You can always let us know. We're happy to change the session, okay? All right, my loves, I want to thank you so much for your incredible support, love, and it was a joy to spend time with you today. And I will see you soon. I can't say tomorrow for sure. I think I'll be here live tomorrow, but I'm going to put it in the message for everyone. Okay. I love you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.